within, I think, 5 hours or so. One of the most historic things, like events in our lifetime, is going to happen if the threat is serious. So President Trump posted this saying, "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete uh, and total regime change, now that we have complete and total regime change, where where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail." Let me see the rest of this. And maybe something revolutionary.
Again, I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionary, wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight, one of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran.
Hey, Trey, also, Iran is urging, this is what I had heard from another agency, a news agency earlier, urging their youth to gather as human shields and form these human chains around the power plants.
Yeah, I saw those reports as well. If they do that, that is illegal under international law. You can't use human shields on the battlefield. But we should note here a few things as it relates to the president's post on Truth Social. What the president knows and what the public knows are two very different things. There are a lot of conversations and preparations going on behind the scenes. Even as we are talking right now, a very high-ranking source just sent me a screenshot of the president's post here and is typing.
So a lot of people are talking about the fact that he's talking about civilization, like an entire civilization will be destroyed. Many people are saying he's talking about the mullahs. He's not talking about Iran. A lot of people will then respond, well, the mullahs are not a civilization. They're anti-civilization. But again, these are things that, President Trump, we have to pay more attention to what he does than what he says. He did say something revolutionary, wonderful is going to happen, and he also said, "God bless the great people of Iran." So that seems to go against the suggestion that he's going to, like, I don't know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, he's going to commit genocide upon the people." I mean, his language is, again, what, like Tusi says, take him seriously but not literally. The only way that to determine what actually happens is to actually look at what actually happens, right? But again, the deadline is 8 p.m. Eastern time. Again, I don't know when this recording is going to go out, so the people who are watching this on YouTube, they're going to know what happened eventually, or if anything happened. But at the time of this recording, that's 5 hours from now on, we did see human chains being created because they said they're going to hit power plants and bridges, electric power plants and bridges. They're creating human shields around the bridges and power plants. So this is in Khuzestan, in Ahvaz, I think. All right, let's actually go to this. This sign that she's holding is saying Tan Fadaya Vatan, which means body for the country, meaning basically, like, they're not hiding it. Like, we're using our bodies, we're sacrificing our bodies to shield what they say the country. And this is, the fact that they're making this child hold it. I mean, because she hasn't chosen to hold the sign, they made her hold the sign. So there's it's one thing to say, I will sacrifice my body, but the parents of these kids, they are saying that we will sacrifice our children's bodies. And I just want you to think about that, because that means that they're willing for their children to die to protect this bridge. And the only way that this could be any form of a shield, the only way that this could be effective as a shield would be for your enemies not to want to kill this child. Like, because how else would this work? Like if your enemies didn't kill about these civilians or these children, then it would be irrelevant if the bridge was filled with civilians or not. So to me, this is an obvious admission to everybody that we're willing for our own children to be killed, but our enemy doesn't want our children to die. So they're admitting that our enemies care about our children more than we care about our children. This is the admission here, in my opinion. And we also saw on state TV, we also saw on state TV, watch this.
امام معصوم گفت ایرانی ها وارد بیت المقدس میشن.
Okay, so let me read it. The infallible Imam said that the Iranians would enter
وارد
Jerusalem
بیت المقدس میشن و به
and carry out a massacre there.
کش به کش میکنن و ایرانی ها میگن
The Iranians say kill, kill. The infallible Imam said kill, kill.
بکش بکش. امام معصوم این جمله رو فارسی گفت. بکش بکشو.
Oh, he said apparently that Arab Imam said that in Persian.
مامانا.
Okay, mothers, fathers, take your children by the hand and come out to the streets.
باباها دست بچه ها رو بگیرید بیایید تو خیابون. میخوای بچه
Do you want your son to become a man?
مرد بشه؟ بذار حس کنه
Let him feel he's a hero in the battlefield, commanding the battle.
یک قهرمانه آمده وسط میدان میونداری داره میکنه میدونداری میکنه. مامانا.
Mothers, fathers, send your children at night to the roadblocks, to the checkpoints.
باباها بچه ها رو بفرستید این شبا ایست بازرسی. بچه ها
These children will turn into
مرد
men.
میشن.
So he's encouraging the regime followers to send their children into the checkpoints because he wants these children to become, human shields. One thing that we saw already, two things that we saw already. The Americans have already bombed Hark Island. So even before reaching the deadline, some things are already happening. So look at this.
Iranian state media says that explosions were just reported on Iran's Karg Island. This is where 90% of Iran's oil exports are processed. We have not yet confirmed this with Israeli or American sources, but again, Iranian state media says that explosions were just reported on Iran's Karg Island.
And we also saw the Israelis taking out some bridges. This is already, so I don't know what's going to happen in 5 hours from now because this is already starting. So the Israeli Defense Force posted this saying, struck 8 bridge segments utilized by the Iranian terror regime for transporting weapons and military equipment. The IDF struck 8 bridge segments in several areas, including Tehran, Karaj, Tabriz, Kashan, Qom. Prior to the strike, several steps were taken to mitigate harm to civilians. And let's watch these bridges. There's no audio for this one. All right, so these are all the main updates that I have right now. I see Ali, you wanted to speak, so let's go to Ali for now. And guys, put one in the chat. If you want to speak, put one in the chat. If you want to respond to what we're saying, put 2 in the chat.
Okay. So the regime sent out its own retaliatory warnings about bridges in Saudi and other countries. And then they said, we're ready for everything. And if you guys bomb us, we're going to bomb your oil pipelines and everything. So they're taking this pretty seriously. So they're, I don't know, they're kind of scared at least. The human chain just doesn't make any sense. I mean, the bombing is going to start at 3 a.m. So they're not going to be standing there. That's just a stupid, idiotic move. But also, bombers have left the UK bases, so they're on track to arrive around 8 p.m. In Iran. And yeah, I think maybe this is what the next phase is going to look like, whatever it is going to look like. The Artesh hasn't been touched. Maybe that's the way that they're trying to go.
It does seem like we're what do you think? It does seem like we might be going into not a military operation anymore, but full on head to head all out war. Is that what it sounds like
What
to
I
you?
wanted to see last week was I really wanted to see them strike the headquarters more and do more targeted assassinations. And in the last 48 hours, they've done close to like 70 or 80 targeted assassinations. So that's been really good. Um, Hopefully that continues to go more because I'm scared. I thought, that 70% defection was like a good number, and then they brought in all these militias. So that scared me a lot. I think I'd like
Yeah.
to see them dead more, but I think we're entering the phase where Reza Pahlavi has to think about when am I going to release that arrow.
I think we need to arm the Iranian people with guns and drones first. I mean, if it was up to me, and I think when it comes to these militias that are coming in, they're coming for most of them are coming for U.S. dollars, right? And I that's what I think. That's why I think that we need to completely suffocate the revenue generating ability of the Islamic Republic. And if they're not getting paid, they're going to go home. If those people are not going to get paid, they're going to go home.
Hopefully, who knows what these
That's
animals
what
are
I
going to
think
do.
should happen. Yeah. This is what I would do. I would basically take over Hark Island, which, by the way, the attacks on Hark Island, uh, it seems like there were 50. Like Iran International reported that there were 50 attacks, and all of it was military. All of it was military. They still didn't touch the oil infrastructure. And why would you do that? Why would you do that unless you're preparing for a ground invasion? Like, what's the point of that? Right, Jeffrey? Like, can you respond to this? Like, isn't doesn't that look like preparation for a ground invasion? Okay.
So one of the things when I sent up the chain on how to open up the Strait of Hormuz, so one of the plans looked at those key strategic islands you've touched on a couple of times that everybody's kind of touched on. Kark Island is one of them. It's not an invasion or annexation. It's liberating Karg Island and denying the Mullah regime its ability to leverage oil to get the resources to continue to do what they do. In other words, the goal is to deny the Mullah regime and control the source or flow of oil so that we can sit there and ensure that the Iranian people get the money and not the friggin' regime. Remember what like President Trump said in Easter, right? He will treat the Iranian people much better than they're getting treated now. In other words, we're trying to find ways to get Iranian people resources and not the mullahs. And as far as like destroying civilization, he's not talking about like Iranian people. He's talking about the Mullah regime. When Donald gets pissed off, he just has a certain way of speaking. He speaks like an angry, like New Yorker developer, right? So maybe it's not as accurate. Like that's why Tulsi says, take him seriously, don't take him literally. Sometimes New Yorkers, when they get angry, that's just how we talk. So that's what's going on there. With regards to the human shields, I'm actually in the process of setting this up right now. One of the things that might be done is to use airborne based non lethal directed energy to sit there and disperse those crowds and thereby deny the Mullah regime its soft power, victory it's trying to set up by having,
Oh,
it is what it is. I mean, that's, we got 5 hours.
right. And we need to keep going back to this chart because this is actually very important to, like, two things that people are not paying attention. I mentioned this a couple of times on the show, is that if you look at the armed forces, you can see the heads of the armed forces are mostly all dead. And if you look at the IRGC, they're mostly all dead, the heads of IRGC. But one thing that the Americans and Israelis are not touching is the Artesh. You can see, like, literally nobody here is dead, including including this asshole over here that I think deserves to die, Hatami. But nobody in the Artesh, you can see alive, 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 alive. And it's not hard to hit these people. To me, the fact that the Israelis and the Americans haven't taken out a single one from the Artesh suggests that they're preparing. They're still their strategy is for the Artesh at some point to basically uh, do a coup or basically join the revolution or defect or something. I mean, they're signaling, like, the fact that they haven't hit them is them signaling to the Artesh that we still have hope for you. So anytime now. One thing else that people need to pay attention is this. Again, I mentioned this, I think, last time, this 32 number here, right? Because if we go to this IRGC here, if you look at Jafari, if I go here, you see this Muhammad Ali Jafari. He used to be the head of IRGC. He's not anymore, and he's at war with Ghalibaf, by the way. Like, people need to know that him and Ghalibaf are like enemies. But he did the genius thing of making the IRGC a lot more mosaic, meaning that they have autonomous, independent, local command base, where basically they created a decentralized structure. Many years ago, he came up with that plan, preparing exactly for this moment, exactly for an event like this, meaning that the IRGC, the reason why you see the IRGC continues to operate even though you have killed so many of their leaders, is because of Jafari's mosaic, uh, flat, decentralized design that he came up with the IRGC. And that's why I think that the best way to disarm the IRGC is to go and basically take out the entire decentralized structure. So if you look at here, this 32 number here, okay, so Iran has 31 provinces, but they have 32 provincial IRGC commanders. And I don't think they have managed to decentralize it to the point where even if you take out these 32, they have decentralized it even further down. I don't think they have decentralized it that far. So I think these 32, these need to be on the target. These need to go as well. And I think if you do that, you will destroy the mosaic structure of the IRGC. So these, I mean, look at them. They're not even important enough to have their names and pictures here, but I think they should be. I think you need to expand this 32 and also make sure that they're also on the hit list. But yeah. All right. Jeffrey, did you mention everything you wanted to mention, or did you have anything else?
So, yeah, again, give me a minute. Let me come back. Give me a minute.
All right, no worries. By the way, guys, I encourage you guys to put one in the chat if you want to speak, because I do want to hear what. Because guys, this is the most important thing that could be happening in our lifetime. So if you guys want to add your opinions, I do want to hear what you have to say. Oh, here, Sadato.
Hey, Aaron. Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
I heard you mention drones as part of the tactics for the Immortal Guards. And one of the things that I saw a report, a Japanese reporter went into Ukraine and spoke to a top commander, drone commander there. And apparently it takes about 6 months to train a drone pilot. And also the urban warfare terrain is very difficult, complicated. So I would think that it might even take more training to train drone pilots for urban warfare. But I don't know. Maybe Jeffrey might have some insights on that.
Yep. How long did it take the Ukrainians to train the Assad opposition in Syria? Because that was very effective. Yeah, go on, Jeffrey.
So, yeah, I mean, kind of like how I outlined before, you're talking about bare minimum 4 months. Like Ukrainian Defense Forces, when they were training people for what was it, the International Battalion, it was like, 6 weeks, and that was only because they're like, okay, we need bodies in the trenches, and they're not engaging in advanced kind of tactics. We just need bodies in the trenches with machine guns, right? So that was like, 6 weeks. You're talking about bare minimum 4 months of training people on how to effectively engage in counterinsurgency. You might cut that down a little bit if you were to leverage, say, the Artesh that are friendly, or friendly forces, within Iran that already has some level of military training. Still, it's going to be a little bit. We kind of talked about this yesterday when it wasn't being recorded, Armin. I kind of gave some examples that I'm not going to share on a recorded session for obvious reasons. Just like what that would mean, like how that would play out. Again, there's two, with regards to leveraging the anti-mullah Persian and or Iranian diaspora, there's two main approaches you'd go with. One is to do the manner that Armin says, and they have positive negatives to it, and that's like, liberating a city in South Iran and using that as your center of gravity or training ground to train the people, then start liberating one city after another. Or you can use, train them outside of Iran, like whole teams, and then send them in all at once amongst the broader Iranian diaspora that's outside of Iran. They still know the language, they still know the culture, they still fit in, look the same, so they blend in, because that's part and parcel of counterinsurgency. It helps to actually be able to blend into the environment, or the indigenous people that are there. That's kind of where you'd go. I mean, again, I've shared with you what we sent up the chain. I definitely know that that's been, looked at. That's all I'll say. Some people push for the idea of leveraging, certain elements out of the Kurdish diaspora for obvious reasons. I wasn't one of those people who supported use of Kurds for all the reasons we've outlined here, not the least of which is and I'm not anti-Kurd. I'm just saying, like, the people they're using played a role in killing Americans, and, like, it's kind of 6-7 with our relationship with them. So, hopefully that, if you want like a good example of what to look at, you might want to look up Contras in the School of Americas, the contemporary version of that, something called WinSec. They deal with that in Central and South America. They train people to do things like that. It's a cool place. I've actually done a couple of details there back in the early 90s, and that's telling me that now it makes me feel old.
All right. Jeffrey, you are the next one to talk, but if you'd like to come back to you, we can. Okay.
I do want to add to what Jeffrey said, because I looked this up. And Jeffrey is completely correct, and so that's the question here. It says, while the exact start date remains classified, reports indicate that Ukrainian special forces (HUR) were training Syrian opposition groups for at least several months prior to the November 2024 offensive that toppled the Assad regime. Key details regarding the timeline include pre-offensive preparation, so its coordination and training were reportedly active throughout 2024. Specific training window, so Ukrainian intelligence operatives were confirmed to be physically present in Idlib 4 to 5 weeks before the final November push to provide specialized instruction on FPV drone tactics, and then operational baseline. Ukrainian backed strikes on Russian targets in Syria were recorded as early as June 2024, suggesting a training and advisory presence was established by the first half of the year. So this is the stuff that we need, like in Iran, if we want to be serious about regime change. Like, this is the kind of stuff that we need. I mean, it worked in Syria, so that's what we need. Yeah, it might be a long-term investment, but like it's not that long term. It's a couple of months. I mean, 4 months. That's we could do that. But we should have done this like now. Like we should have done this yesterday. I mean, we already saw that President Trump was um already right after the January massacre they were already planning to arm the Iranian people immediately. And that they just gave it to the wrong people. By the way, guys, let me tell you something. The fact that they gave it to the Kurdish separatist groups and the Kurdish separatist groups decided to keep it to themselves, that means the Kurdish separatist groups are responsible for a huge part of the massacre of the Iranian people, and this stain will stay on them forever, forever. Like anybody who at any point argued for, like, oh, what about this, and they say Kurds, they shouldn't say Kurds, they should say separatist groups, okay, because we don't want to group our amazing Iranian Kurdish people with these fucking enemies. Like, but from now on, like, this will never be forgotten. This will be never forgotten, because the Kurdish separatist groups have been hated by the Iranian people, mostly because they are anti-Iranian, and they challenge in the way that they're against the border integrity of Iran. But now they have blood on their hand. Thousands of Iranians the people, the blood of the Iranian people on their hand. So anybody ever coming out and suggesting ever again that these are the people that we need to rely on, um they're retarded. And then and also they, whoever was arguing against us, all of us who are saying that this is not a good idea, they need, and they're thinking that we Iranian people don't know what we're talking about. They need to, if they want to be taken seriously, they need to come and admit that they were fucking wrong, that they were fucking wrong, and we knew what we were talking about. We knew what we were talking about. These separatist groups, they're not anti-Islamic Republic, they're anti-Iran. I showed you so many of their posts that they're anti-Iranian as a whole. They see Iran as they don't see the Islamic Republic as the enemy. They see Iran as the enemy. Even when they were sharing the videos of the massacre, they were posting this and they say, like, look what Iranians do. They weren't saying what the Islamic Republic do. They kept on saying, look at what the Iranians are capable of. Guys, these are we have like years of history with these guys. We know what they stand for. Like, these are communists. They are extremely into woke ideology. These are the same type of people, like in the West, that you see these progressive leftists. They have the same type of language. Like, whenever like I go into a clubhouse room and talk to them, they are the people in the chat who say Persian fascist, right? Like, they call that like, because you're fascist because you're Persian. You know how, like, for example, in the West, when you see when they say white people are inherently racist, these people think like Persian people are inherently fascist. um so that's the kind of people they are. And when they see the weakness of the Islamic Republic as an opportunity to hurt Iran as a whole, not liberate Iran, but hurt Iran as a whole. They think this is their moment. And we knew their nature, we knew what they stand for. And now when the Americans gave them weapons to give to the Iranian people, now that they kept it, now hopefully the whole world could see that we were right about them. Oh, and I saw Jeffrey, you wanted to. Yeah, okay. Thank you, Ali. Jeffrey wanted to respond to this.
Yeah, I
Oh, you
mean,
have to.
there's a reason I sent up the chain. I gave you, Goldie, Tulsi, kind of like 3 reports on how to set up those self-sustaining fighting facilities to train the cadre, to train the trainers, to train the operatives to engage in counterinsurgency against the mullah regime remnants that would be there, 4 months ago. Not them saying, oh, look, I'm just saying, like, tragically, and I sent those reports similarly up the chain. Tragically, the MEK has a lot of ages of influence. Some people actually, support them legitimately. They were trying to, like, oh, we can leverage them as proxies. I was not one of those. Remember, I told you, like, the fight between me and my mentor, God rest his soul, Dr. Tanter, who very much wanted to see Iran liberated. He was very much use MEK as proxies. I was like, ugh, they got a really shitty fucking history, and like they have 22 Americans' blood on their hands, and I don't really trust them, and their ideology is kind of crazy. So, tragically, those people have been spreading around a lot of money to certain people, and some, like Hillary Clinton is the one that took the MEK off the terrorist watch list. That's because they were donating to the Clinton Foundation. So, I mean, that's tragically what you're up against. To that end, the line of effort should be this: set up the private military contracting company. The idea would be to push to sit there and have His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi and the transitionary government be officially recognized as the officially recognized government of Iran. That allows then you can actually use Ukraine. I think actually Ukraine's getting. I think they already did that. So that way you can actually have Ukrainians train them or have them trained in Poland. You can use the money that then is being, the idea was to liberate all of the fucking dark sea fleet oil tankers that would have provided all you guys about 15 to 20 billion dollars. You could have built those facilities everywhere. You'd have been training tens of thousands of counterinsurgents every 4 months, like just like that. You'd have been knocking them out. So, I mean, that's ideally what we need to do now is create those centers of gravity in the United States and Canada. Create your private military contracting company. I know plenty of people in GWAT that would be more than willing to do that. for no other reason than the fact that they have a really hard on for the mullahs that killed our buddies via Al Quds forces and like VBIDs and shit. Like, I'll talk to you offline if you want on who you probably should call, and then send that to your buddies. That's where it has to be, right? I mean, that's literally the Ukrainian model that I pushed for like 4 years ago. I'm sorry that other voices were effective in diverting that effort towards less than optimal, recipients.
All right, next to respond is me. Yeah, I didn't think about the Kurdish problem that way, that they, by denying, they actually had blood in their hands. I did want to raise one point. In the western parts of Iran, a lot of checkpoints are now being completely unmanned over the last couple of days. And the reason those checkpoints were even there in the first place is because the Kurdish separatist groups use these roads to get weapons to their friends, their other Kurdish separatist friends inside of Iran. With the checkpoints gone, because they're getting blown up, yeah, I don't know, maybe they're going to plan something on their own now because they do have these weapons. And not only does that paint a target on their back for other Kurdish separatist groups for them to come and take the weapons, but I mean, almost assuredly, they're going to use them at some point in the future.
Yep. I actually feel bad for Kurdish Iranians because they're like, holy fuck, here we go again. Like, now people are going, there's so much hate coming at these Kurdish separatist groups, and everybody is like, oh, the Kurds did this, the Kurds did that. And the Iranian Kurds, they're like, what the fuck did we do? Like, we hate them as well. Like, why is everybody saying the Kurds, the Kurds, the Kurds? Like, don't group us with these fuckers. Like, we have been on the same side with of the rest of the Iranian people. And I really like, the Iranian Kurds, they get really frustrated. They're like, why has the world decided that these people are our representatives, and it's really unfair to them. It's really unfair to them. I saw like some of them posting, like basically calling this out and saying that we're patriotic. Wait, let me actually do them a favor actually and share this, because I need them to. We need to help them out. Well, here. Yeah, look at this. Okay, so this saying, as a Kurdish party, we would like to clarify our position regarding the Kurdish issue. So who's this? This is the IPKP. There's so many little patriotic Kurdish groups like this that need to get more attention. Saying it is important to understand that Kurds have long been among the indigenous people of Iran. However, over time, Iran's geographical borders changed due to wars and political developments. And then it goes on saying, for example, the modern state of Iraq was established in 1920 in the city of, I don't know how to say it in English, but is Sistun, right? Setefan. How do you pronounce this in English, guys? Anybody know? Yeah, I don't know. Or median. Let me actually, I could really look at the city. Okay, I don't know. But this is the city really close to Baghdad, which was the capital of Iran one day. Okay, one can still see the arc of. Yep, let me actually. This is the capital of the Sassanid Empire. Let me actually, because I want you guys to know this. Yeah, so we need to pronounce it properly. I know how to pronounce it in Persian, Tisfun, but I don't know how to pronounce it in English. Yeah. English. Wait. Pronunciation. Ctesiphon. Okay, so Ctesiphon in so the C apparently is not is silent. Ctesiphon in English or Tisfun in Persian. So Ctesiphon, this was the capital of the Sassanid Empire. So it's outside of the current borders of Iran, close to Baghdad. Okay, Ctesiphon. One can still see the Arch of Ctesiphon, which once served as part of the capital of the Sassanid Persian Empire. This historical landmark demonstrates that large parts of what is now neighboring countries were once within the historical boundaries of Iran. Over centuries, due to wars and shifting borders, territories were separated, resulting in Kurdish populations living across several modern states, including Iraq and Syria. So, guys, but he's saying is that the Kurdish areas that is you saying that is outside of Iran today, they used to be all of Iran. So the Kurdish people are Iranian. Like they were all Iranian because all of Kurdish areas used to be part of Iran. Saying, however, it is important to recognize that the Kurdish communities in different countries have developed distinct identities shaped by their national histories. The Kurdish population in Iran has its own historical, cultural, and national characteristics that differ in many respects from Kurdish populations in neighboring countries. Iranian Kurds have historically considered themselves part of the Iranian nation and shared in Iran's cultural heritage. Iranian Kurds strongly identify with Iran and have contributed to protecting its territorial uh, integrity throughout history. At the same time, political aspirations among Kurdish groups in other countries, including Iraq, may differ based on their own historical and political context. These differences should not lead to generalization or assumptions that all Kurdish populations share identical goals. Therefore, when referring to Kurds, it is important to understand that Iranian Kurds consider themselves Iranian, their nationality is Iranian, and they should not be regarded as a separate from Iranian nation. So this is the full context of that. So I hope people understand that. I also want to point out how, I'm right. I was right about uh, just because something is U.S. intelligence, that doesn't mean that, oh, this is like a revelation from God and we should trust it. Okay, because guys, the way that you have to understand how US intelligence works is that there's so many different think tanks. There's so many different groups with their own agenda. And some of them are crap, some of them are group. And you cannot just be like, oh, US intelligence, this is there for good. You could see that we here told you, like, we had better intelligence, that the intelligence that President Trump, I mean, Trump himself, his instincts was apparently was better than what they gave him. But we here knew that these groups couldn't be trusted. But President Trump operated based on intelligence that this is how you give weapon to the Iranian people, and it backfired, right? So when I, for example, come and tell you guys that, oh, maybe the Americans didn't understand this, this is when I tell you, like, the Americans were surprised, for example, that the Islamic Republic didn't capitulate, and I'll tell you why they didn't capitulate, because of our understanding of their religious, of their theology. That might come off as, what the hell? I mean, like, you think you understand better than US intelligence? Okay, so now we understand that we have good US intelligence and we have bad US intelligence. We already told you here that these groups could not be trusted, and now President Trump listened to bad intelligence and gave some weapons to certain groups that we already knew couldn't be trusted, and now everybody else knows as well. However, it's not all bad. At least the silver lining is that it's now, like, everybody knows. Now everybody knows what we already knew, that you cannot trust this group. You cannot trust the separatist groups. Also, I want people to be aware about the Iranian-based Kurdish separatist groups, which don't represent Iranian Kurds. But it's important that we know that there are mainly three parties. Okay, so the Democrat Kurdistan, Hezb Demokrate Kurdistan Iran, which translates to Democratic Party of Iranian Kurdistan. Again, remember, guys, these people pretend to be representing Iranian Kurds. They don't. Basically, PDKI. And then we have Komole, or Komole, that's another group. And then we have Pejak, or PJAK, or Kurdistan Free Life Party. So these three groups are, what the Iranian Kurds hate, and they are the three separatist Kurdish parties that we are at war with. And these groups are our enemy as much as the Islamic Republic is, if not more. Sometimes we consider these people to be more of an enemy than even the Islamic Republic. Okay,
All right.
let's
Jeffrey
move
wanted
on.
to respond to this.
Yeah, so I mean, you're not wrong. Also, you have to understand that intelligence speaks in levels of confidence and probability. So when people like think, "Oh, intel," it means that it's like 100%. Nobody's God. I think it's more the impact, though, with regards to who chose what, has more to do with access, gatekeepers, and agents of influence that was more to blame, which also outlines why things like this are very important to win the soft power battle of the narratives, right? You think about Hillary Clinton taking the MEK off the terrorist watch list, other people who, even though their motive wasn't the same as Hillary, they still selected a suboptimal approach, which is to do things like leverage the MEK, right? That's the issue, is to sit there and punch through the noise that is created by things like that. And that's why your effort, you and Goldie and Tusi and everybody else here's efforts, is very important.
Um, yeah, thank you, yeah. So by the way, I'm not suggesting that U.S. intelligence is not advanced. I'm just saying that, like, I want to make it clear that they're competing with a lot of people with their own agenda, that mix good information with bad information. That's the only thing that I'm suggesting. um I also wanted to show you guys Ctesiphon if it's possible. I don't know if it's going to be possible to do, but hopefully I could do that. Yeah, okay, good. I can show you this image. Just give me a second. Okay, so I don't know if, because in that post he talked about an arc, and I don't know if you guys have seen the arc. It's good for you guys to know, because that used to be the capital of Iran, and now it's inside Iraq. Unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to get it back. But okay, here's the arc. Oh, where is it? Why can't I click on this? Just give me a second. Oh, there we go. Fantastic. Okay, so this used to be the capital of the Sassanid, the Persian Sassanid Empire, and it's actually a miracle that this arc hasn't fallen yet. They managed to. It's still there, and here, let me actually show you what this arc. This is why some Iranians want to expand their borders to actually go back and recapture these areas, given that this used to be the capital of Iran and now it's in Iraq. And this is what it used to look like. So this is what it looks like right now. Ctesiphon, Iraq, or Tisfun as we call it in Persian. And this is what it used to look like.